Welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Sampson. And, of course, on this show, we discuss so many of the issues facing boomers, which I'm one of, their parents, and what, of course, is an aging population today. So I just want to first thank everybody for all their support. So many of you have gone on iTunes and subscribed, or iHeartRadio, subscribe. You could go to Spreaker. You could download our free app, Aging Boomers free app, on your iPhone or Android phone. All different ways, all different options to listen to the show that we do each Monday and Friday to help educate people on issues facing boomers. And before I introduce our guest, I want to let everybody know that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, which is a professional senior placement and elder care management organization that has a national network of advisors to help in determining the right path for seniors in receiving proper care and supervision. So whether it's in-home care, assisted living, residential, or memory care, get the necessary advice from a senior care advisor in your area, and you can do so by calling Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you can go to www.seniorcareauthority.com. I guess a little too early for me. I can't even speak, Harriet. So I do want to introduce once again. I've interviewed Harriet. Boy, it's been too long, Harriet. It's been a couple years, but
been a couple of years.
Yeah, it has. But Harriett Tramer has many years working. She doesn't want to say how many, so I won't even talk about it. But many years working as both a journalist and college instructor. Her experiences have taught her that these two professions definitely share one thing in common. They both demand good communication skills, not to mention patience and understanding. And that is not changed by the fact that commuters have totally changed our patterns of interacting, which is so true. Harriet is the author of Rounding the Circle of Love, Growing Up as She Grows Old, and also hosts Reaching for Gold, an internet talk radio show, which I had the pleasure of being on her show also recently. So I'll let her talk about that a little bit more. Harriet, welcome to the Aging Boomers.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to be on. I appreciate it. I know you're in Ohio, right?
I am. It's a little bit later, but not as sunny.
Yeah, you getting hit with the winter weather yet?
It's coming. It's coming.
Okay. All right. So, Harriet, I want to start out with some statistics for our discussion. Do you mind if I do that?
No, that's fine.
Okay. So, here's something, and some people, listening to the show may have heard some of these statistics, but I think it will make the point. The AARP, American Association of Retired Persons, stated that nearly 90% of seniors want to stay in their own homes as they age, which is often referred to as aging in place, which we'll discuss that term as well. However, you have something that's I don't want to say conflicting, but the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says about 70% of individuals over age 65 will require at least some type of long-term care services during their lifetime. So my question to you is, how do we present a more realistic outlook not only to seniors and boomers, whether it's those are the people that are aging or their parents? Do you think people's expectations are off? I know everybody would like to live at home, but I'm not sure that that's reality. What are your thoughts there?
My thoughts before I even start are that it is perfectly understandable that people would prefer to be at home.
Yeah.
Understandable because it grants them more privacy, more comfort. things of that nature. Now, working from there, realistic expectations, probably not, for several reasons. Number one, if you are looking at your parents and saying, okay, they can age at home, I can take care of them. It is only human to maybe have a glossy view of their circumstances, to not want to 100% face the fact that they may be a fall danger, things of that nature. And yes, if you're going to keep them at home, have them at home, keep's probably the wrong word, it sounds like a jail. If they're going to age at home, wonderful. But you have to accept the fact they may be a danger to fall, and that you may have to have somebody there on a pretty regular basis, that you can't just come in when you do. Mm-hmm. You may have a rosy picture of their circumstances.
Right. And I think, when we say living at home, there could be so many different variables there. I mean, somebody could be living at home alone, which is, concerning for an elderly person. Someone could be living at home, of course, with their spouse. Someone could be living at home with their adult children. Somebody, so there's a lot of, there's generalities there when we say, living at home. I think what we're more stressing is somebody that is at home alone may not be the best option for most people. Is that right?
It may be the best option. Mm-hmm. In a perfect world. It may not be a realistic option. Now, one thing we haven't mentioned that's kind of like the big gorilla in the room is money.
Right.
If you have somebody aging at home and they can take care of themselves, fantastic. But if they need somebody to come in, that can be hundreds of dollars a day, depending on their specific need. If they are in a home, potentially, although people don't always like to discuss these things, and I don't blame them, some of these expenses can be covered by Medicaid. You can get some Medicaid assistance for a person who's living at home, but it is not near what you might need. So the ugly dog in the room is money.
Yeah, and that could be, somebody who needs... I guess I've used, as you know, I've been in the business for a while, and we help people find best places to live. And living at home, we know, is, number one option. So we try to make that work. But once you start needing a caregiver to come in, let's just say Monday through Friday, morning till late afternoon, until maybe the adult children come home from work, okay, you might as well go to some sort of assisted living community where you're with other people and you really have assistance 24 hours a day. That's kind of been my rule of thumb. I don't think a lot of people realize, which I know you do, but somebody who needed assistance 24 hours a day or supervision, it could just be supervision. You could be talking $10,000 to $15,000 a month, depending upon the state.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Yeah.
Depending on just where you are and just what this person needs. And if you go to agencies and have nothing against them, you're paying more for an aide because you're paying the agency. Now, where there is one possibility, and again, it depends on the person's willingness, health, anything else, is situations like daycare centers.
Right.
Adult daycare centers.
Right.
Now, again, that depends on somebody's health. If they need dialysis every day, that's going to be kind of hard to arrange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it's hard for them to get up every day and get there, that's going to be kind of hard to arrange. But that certainly is a possibility. Mm-hmm. If somebody is working, the elder can go to a daycare center until that person gets home, and that's a possibility.
Right. And I know that the emphasis here, we're talking about the person that is aging, but even if that person could be at home maybe most of the time, if you have, so many families are spread out all over the country, okay? So if you don't have family nearby, and even if you do have family nearby, the question is, are they going to have the time to give to help a parent or other loved one? That's something else. So but if family's not around, or they're all working and they're busy and they're that sandwich generation still taking care of their kids, then it makes it even more challenging. Right?
Yes, of course. And there are, and I'm sure they can serve a wonderful purpose, all kinds of technology where you can watch somebody on the internet and they can communicate with you and you with them. But depending on the circumstances, if you have somebody who's deep into dementia, I don't think they're going to be going on the internet. And if you do watch them on the internet, that doesn't mean they can get up and get their own meal, get their own medication, get this and that. I mean, that is somebody who maybe is doing all right, but you want to make sure they're doing all right. That's not someone who's deep into dementia.
Right.
I wouldn't think.
I mean, there's a lot of, certainly a lot of positives that on average we're all living longer. But with that, we have to realize that there's some challenges that come with it. So I guess, this discussion is more helping to educate people on a reality check instead of thinking that, mom or dad or mom or dad will be able to be independent. I mean, it's really, the likelihood is the opposite. They won't be able to be totally independent, and that's what needs to be discussed. I know when I was introducing you, you said there's a lot of commonality between, journalism and college instructor and dealing with seniors, and that's good communication skills. So I think don't you think so much of it comes down to the discussions that the families are having together?
A lot of it does, of course. And again, I'm talking things people don't like to discuss. People have problems, and I can fully understand it. I'm not knocking them, accepting the fact that their parent or loved one, whatever, could be their spouse, whatever, is not as alert as they once were, and to understand it may not be going in a good direction and deal with that. That's very hard. I'll let you give, your experiences. You know more than I. You deal directly with families. But a lot of times things like housing issues and care issues only come out in the open in an emergency, in a crisis. And people aren't too prone to look at things realistically till that happens.
And that's what adds to stress and everything. And I'm saying, unfortunately, that's what we as an organization get more involved in, is crisis situations. And we've seen how it affects families, siblings, causing disagreements. Yeah, but certainly we emphasize a lot, the planning aspect of it. But, I'd like you to, I know that you've gone through personal experience with your own mom. Can you talk about that, which was kind of the opposite of what we're talking about? But your mom was obviously a wonderful lady, an anomaly to all of this. So we're not saying it's going to happen in every case. You want to talk about that a little bit?
She was living alone with minimal supervision. She broke a bone. She was in a rehab center, whatever you want to call, for a few months. She came home, at which point she was 93. She stayed home for the next 4 years. We didn't have one hospitalization. She was able to go to a daycare center. But these are things you cannot rely on. You just can't. That was her health. That was her. Most people are not going to come home from a rehab center, whatever you want to call it, at 93, and for the next 4 years be able to get up and out almost every day and not have one hospitalization. I don't have facts and figures, but I do not think that's the norm.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not. What's your thoughts on the term that is really used, maybe overused, called aging in place? Aging in place is a term that is perceived as, that's what people want. They want to age in place, and again, the perception is at home. Do you think that we need to work on changing the meaning of that term, that you can certainly age in place at home? You could age in place in a beautiful community where you have access to caregivers. Some of these places look like the Four Seasons of assisted living. I mean, those days of the old convalescent centers, as they've been referred to, and nursing homes, and things have changed. That model has changed. What are your thoughts there?
My thoughts are going to have to go in two different directions. In an ideal world, I would say aging at home, your residence is best and very wonderful. In a real world, I'd say that's not necessarily possible. Not necessarily possible. Now, again, money becomes the deep, dark secret in all of this. These places you're describing, I mean, I've gone to the net and I've seen pictures of ones where you can look out and see the sequoia trees and this and that. They're very beautiful, but they certainly are not inexpensive. So financial considerations have to be taken into account.
Mm-hmm. But there's new models.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's new models out there. I know that, I don't know why things seem to start in the West, and I'm not saying that because I live in California, because I'm from the Midwest. I used to hate when people say, oh, everything starts in California. But this did. It started, Oregon and Washington and California is now throughout the country. And these are smaller, these are residences. These are houses that are licensed by the state, where someone can be in an actual home setting, and there are caregivers that literally live there, or they're rotated in some cases, and there's always caregivers there 24 hours a day. And so, and the costs are far less. So there's a lot of different models that are changing, especially with boomers who have historically, changed the way things work, and they'll continue to do so. Have you seen models or any, different models forming, or what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One model is where they have senior residences in college towns. Some of them are beautiful. I have not been there personally, but I've seen online pictures of ones in Ithaca, New York by Cornell. They're beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And cost-wise, from what you've...
Very high, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're high. But I'm saying that there are options out there that certainly nothing in as far as home care, assisted living, nothing is inexpensive. Okay? However,
no way.
However, there, as I say, there's models out there today and new ones being formed that it's a little more palatable. I mean, the fact is that if you're getting in-home care and you're being charged, somewhere in the vicinity of low to mid to upper $20 per hour, and if you do the math, talk about expense, that could get very, very pricey. And I'm saying that there are other outside living options that people may not realize that actually are far less expensive than being at home. Like you said earlier, dollars, play a significant role in all of this.
No, they probably are unaware of it. And to be honest, like I indicated before, and it's pretty obvious, when people think of a senior residence, I'm being polite, again, they think of when I visited Grandma so-and-so or Aunt so-and-so, and I didn't like what I saw. It was
right.
Institutional, it was cold, people were just sitting there. I didn't like it. Well, you can't blame them. They don't want to go there, they don't want their parents to go there.
Mm-hmm.
People, I can't, I haven't done a survey. I don't know how much people are aware of any of these options. It's
right. Well, usually they're not aware until they're confronted with the situation, and that's what we try to do on this show, and I know you try to do on your show, and there's all sorts of articles written that people need to be educated on these options ahead of time, best we can. That's all we can do is do our best. But at least our experience, they're not aware of these options until they're confronted with that situation and have to make some decisions. And they haven't had a discussion with the family members, and they're trying to make quick decisions. And that just adds to the stress. Adds to it. But your point on the places where we went to see grandparents, we're talking assisted living or these types of models. It hasn't been around that long. It's just been since the 90s or so, and more are being developed today. But the term nursing home, the term convalescent center, the term old folks home, I mean, those are terms really of the past, okay? Skilled nursing facilities, we've referred to it in the business as SNFs. Most of them are not for long-term care living. They're more for rehabilitation, maybe after a surgery, after a fall, whatever the case may be. They're really not geared, or many of them are not geared for the long-term living. And if somebody just has dementia, if somebody just needs supervision, that's really what, they're not geared for that. It's more if someone has feeding tubes and all sorts of things going on medically, then there's a place for these skilled nursing facilities, but not just to live as you age. That's not the purpose of these places anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but I think, with your mom, you're very fortunate. Somebody who lived,
I wouldn't count on that happening for everybody. Believe me, I would.
Right. So, Harriett, tell us more. I know I had the pleasure of being on your internet talk radio show. Tell us more about that. Tell us about your website. How could people reach out to you?
The website, htramer, TRAMER.com. The radio show, The Best Bet, so as I don't give you an incredibly long URL, go to Artist First, ARTISTFIRST.com. Scroll down on the left-hand side of the screen until you see my show, which is on Wednesday evenings. Click on that, and you will go to my homepage.
Great.
So it's htramer.com and Artist First.
Great. So we have literally about 45 seconds here. Any words of wisdom you'd like to give to our listeners on this subject matter, or anything else you'd like to share?
Words of wisdom is that facing some realities are hard.
Yeah.
And facing reality of your parents aging, much less your own, is hard.
Yeah. And have those communicate with family members about this.
Yeah. It generally doesn't happen.
Yeah. We got to push it to make it happen, though. So, Harriett, thanks so much for joining us on the Aging Boomers. I really appreciate it. I know we'll do it again in the future. And I want to thank everybody for their support. Please go to iTunes, go to iHeartRadio, Spreaker, go to download our free app, share it with your friends and family. A lot of great information. And just be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all soon.